Hello, back again with another update on my Voxel project, my Voxel space game project. So it's been a bit of a big gap this time, well over a week, and that's because I kind of broke the project in a few different ways by adding some pretty big stuff or stuff that I've wanted to fix for a fair while. So the first thing is the more subtle one, probably to talk about, and that's ambient occlusion. So basically ambient occlusion is where you kind of darken areas that have more surrounding geometry so that they kind of have these little shadows. Actually, I might move to another place so I can show you quickly what's going on. Maybe in this room, it's really well lit. Okay, so maybe if you look in this corner, you can see how it's much darker inside the corner than what it is in these surrounding areas where there's more full light hitting them. And so this effect's been in the game for a long time, but it's just that it was hideously broken and only really worked in certain scenarios. And now I know why. It ended up being quite a lot of work to fix, and in the meantime, it looked pretty clunky when I was trying to fix it. So anyway, it's good to have that fixed now. Yeah, I guess the more obvious change I just kind of showed by walking through the ship is that I've kind of added per voxel kind of global illumination, or an approximation of global illumination. So there's voxels that can propagate light into the scene, and it sort of propagates out and it affects the color of surrounding voxels, so to approximate light. And so you can see this green one in the floor here. This is a block type that radiates light. I can remove it and then it gets all dark, which is cool. And then I can replace it with, say, a different color, so red. Yeah, so I guess the way it works is that when you place one of these blocks, it does like a flood fill out into the scene. And so all the transparent voxels that are here, so all the empty space that I'm walking around in, every empty space block has a light value, and then adjacent faces get painted with that light value. It's kind of cool by doing it this way. It's kind of like a flood fill, and it gets halted at solid objects, so you can kind of see like this red light's here and it looks a bit shadowy in there, or like around here you get this effect where it's like there's an approximation of shadows, like the light's not managing to propagate around the corner and into this space. So I need to like add another thing if I want to light this area. The fall off is a little bit aggressive at the moment. I guess like the maximum light propagation that I'm supporting at the moment is only about 8 blocks, and that's because I don't want to end up in situation where I have to cross or go more than the direct neighbors to each chunk, because chunks are 8 voxels in size. I need to do some work to make that possible. Basically, maybe like figuring out which chunks have light from a certain light source, and then being able to invalidate that light source, and then update the lighting across all those chunks. But it's just identifying all those chunks is difficult right now. I'm kind of doing a naive, like just the surrounding neighbors, which limits how far I can let the light spread. Which does mean you have to put a lot of lights, but actually I don't mind it because there's lots of shadowy areas as well, and kind of like the way that looks. I'm still working to kind of resolve the performance impact of this, because it is all calculated at chunk regeneration time. So like when you're changing, adding new blocks to a scene, or removing blocks, it's having to recalculate the light propagation around the scene at that time. And so it is a bit slow when you have to regenerate lots of blocks. When you're just like adding a block at a time, it's not really a big problem. But it's when you add lots of blocks, or like when you first load into the world and it has to propagate light across the scene many times to try and get to an end state that makes sense. That's where you end up running into problems. But it's cool because I'm tracking all the different color channels when I'm propagating the light around. You can see like the light kind of mixing, and you get these like call it like mixed colors. I can't think of the word now, but can have a bit more of a look around on the ship. What I would like to add is smooth lighting. So right now, these the color for a voxel face is kind of calculated based on the transparent light block or transparent voxel that's adjacent to it. So like the block above the block I'm pointing at right now, it has a light value which affects the color of the face. What I'd instead like to do is maybe like have a look at the voxels around each vertex and do an average, so I can do like a smooth lighting model rather than what I have now where it's like entire blocks that have just been painted with the same color. Even though like I actually don't mind this effect, I think it's okay, but I would like to see a smooth lighting model and see how it looks. The other cool thing is like when you start mixing these colors and stuff, you get like these other colors start to pop out. So you know, in the middle of this red, green, and blue, you can see like it's white in the middle, which is cool. And then you get like purples and yellows. Yeah, it's kind of cool. Oh yeah, there's a good example of yellow. So the red and the green are mixing to produce yellow, and then yeah, some stuff out there, purples and pinks. Yeah, so I think like where to go from here is probably like I'll work on smooth lighting. I think it is going to be a bit of a painful thing to implement because it ends up being that it's going to end up being a lot like what I've got with ambient occlusion. The thing is, though, I've kind of been thinking in my head that I might not need ambient occlusion, which is a bit expensive to calculate as well. I might not need ambient occlusion once I actually go and calculate the colors, or the lighting for individual vertices, because if you're in a corner, it'll naturally be darker because the solid blocks don't radiate any light. So anyway, I need to look at that because I think that'll help a lot. I guess the other things are like these light blocks are kind of like being affected by ambient, or maybe not ambient occlusion, but they're kind of shadowy. I want to make them very bright so that they stand out in the scene more, so that you can tell that it's a light. But anyway, yeah, it's all coming together. Thanks for watching. Yeah, if you want to see more about this project, then I've got a whole bunch of videos from over the past year where I've started like working on it more frequently. But yeah, thanks for watching, and hopefully be back again next week. Cheers, everyone.